Barkley Yahawah, Barkley Yahawashai, Barkley Yahawah, Barkley Yahawashai, KAL HALAL YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, Rakdash. This is another digital epistle to the 12 tribes of Israel. Double honors to all the elders and the elder apostles that have been laboring in the truth, and down to any brother pushing on the likewise doctrine. Yeah, especially these days, any man risking his life pushing on this truth, man, you're even risking your life believing in this truth and doing the research, especially if you're doing it on the right doctrine. I mean, even if you're not doing it on the wrong doctrine, you're doing it, but pretty much in vain. Because, when Esau comes, he's slaying everybody. Ain't nobody get no mercy. I mean, some of y'all saw somebody think, the nuclear missiles gonna hit you anyways. John 14:31. Actually, John 14:30. Hereafter I will not talk much with you, for the prince of this world cometh, and hath nothing in me.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. You've got to see what they're anything that's in the mainstream. But remember, sigil magic, how these people work, they're constantly telling you what's in the plans. They use humor to deflect. And I'll show you that in a second. I just want everyone to know I have 2 channels with new content on it. I have the channel here with the Riddle Me This about the 666, and I have my other channel with the metaverse video. These are up for people to see. Please check them out in the description box after this video. They're pinned in the comments as well. And make sure you sub to those channels. Again, one more strike. I can't upload here for 2 weeks. Another strike. This channel's gone. Sayonara, as they perfectly understandable. Like I said, I don't expect everyone to watch everything I upload, but I just want to let you know that there were 3 videos yesterday. And I uploaded a video about these old I uploaded a video about some of this stuff going on at universities around the country here on Black History Month. Pretty interesting stuff on the website. I can't say more than that, but that's on the website at callforuprising.com. So I brought attention to something called a decentralized autonomous organization, a DAO, who wants to genetically engineer mice so that they can carry Bitcoin inside of them. This company has no investors. It has no money. Well, it has 2 investors. It has no money. It has raised nothing. And somehow it's being covered by Vice and on Stephen Colbert on national TV, the show that supposedly won an Emmy for funniest late night show or whatever this nonsense is, bringing attention to this. And it's interesting because this has everything to do with coding.
It's not funny, but you definitely want an Emmy because it's telling them. You push that. The juice campaigns, you don't get it.
Digital, right, currencies, which I've been talking about for years, we all know. And it's right on the money, but why would they bring this up? Well, of course, to make it sound completely insane and to crack jokes about it when there's no need to even bring attention to it, especially if the punchline of the joke is something as boring as the punchline of the joke was. Well, they bring attention to it for a lot of reasons. Take a look at this.
Good news. There's a plan to put Bitcoin in mouse DNA with a genetically engineered virus. Here's the plan. You may know a Bitcoin wallet can only be accessed using its private key. They will buy some Bitcoin, then tie the mouse's value to that Bitcoin by editing the mouse's genetic code to carry the private key that controls the Bitcoin. This manipulation will result in genetically engineering the world's first douche mouse.
I mean, honestly, when I saw that, I was pretty surprised because they're, obviously we know they do experiments on lab rats. Everyone knows the expression of, science experiments, a lab rat, a rat in a maze, all that stuff. And in reality, the real lab rats are, they're amongst us now. And let's just say they're not me and you. But they have socially engineered on people like me and you for a long time. Now they're actually doing the experiments on people who are willingly ready to be lab rats for them. And you know what I'm talking about. When it comes to this, they're talking about your DNA, having access to your DNA through the blockchain, and currency being inside of your DNA. Does it sound a lot like the mark? Does it sound? Yeah, it does. The BitMouse DAO launched January 25th. As of this writing, it has exactly 2 investors and no money and no Discord. One investor who put in 1 cent or 0.01 ETH, I think that's Ethereum, commented LMAO, while the other who put in the same amount said crazy. The scheme, according to the DAO's pitch, is to experiment with genetic technology to put Bitcoin inside of a mouse. The anonymous mind behind this project claims to be an artist who got the idea as they were going to sleep one night. They jotted the idea down and began to ponder its possibilities. Over the next few weeks, I started looking around to see if it was possible to carry out the experiment. They said in a blog post, I was excited to imagine how this would affect us in the future. I'm sure. Of course the person's anonymous. Just like when we have all these false flag events, the person ends up being anonymous. Oh, we don't know who it is. Oh, and then when they release the details, the person no longer exists on the face of the earth because there's never a trial for any of these things because 99.9% of the time, they're false flag psyops. So in this case, the person who's posting about this, who's anonymous, who has no viewers, right? Nobody even knows where this blog would be for someone to find it. Somehow Vice finds it, and somehow Stephen Colbert covers it, talking about DNA sequencing. Deflecting much? deflecting much, even when you don't need to deflect. Maybe this is part of the universal law that they follow, where there's light pro? I don't know. Honestly, no, because that makes no sense. They would cover a lot of the stuff that channels like mine talk about. Why would they bring attention to this? Why would Vice bring attention to some guy? And then, it's not like this is really funny. They're like, it's, the comments in the comment section are all just like, it sounds like he was high, and it sounds like something I do when I'm high, and write that down. Just stupid, ridiculous stuff, and it's not funny. And I'm not saying that, because there's so much truth behind this. I'm saying it's not funny. No one's really laughing at that type of stuff. And this is just something that someone would see and say, okay, we got weird people. That would be the common reaction of a regular person who's not awake. They would just say, that's bizarre and sciencey, right? Or crazy, or maybe they would think the person was high. But why would they bring attention to this when it's an anonymous blog post? How would they even find it, right? Couldn't one of you guys just do an anonymous blog post? You think Vice is going to pick up on it? You could do one about, anything. You come up with any idea. They're not going to cover it. So why would they cover it? Why would Colbert cover it? So after name-checking artists, Eduardo Cax genetically engineered, Rabbit's Bitmouse DAO then rambles about how cool it will be to make a living thing into literal money. We have tied the value of the mouse directly to Bitcoin, and it will fluctuate with the daily value of Bitcoin. Maybe in 10 years it'll be worth $100 million, or maybe it'll be worth nothing. Now, what I'm trying to say is, talking about the digital currency is going to be in you. This is all going to be in you. So instead of a chip, of course it can be something that's DNA sequenced. Why not? We already know that they have the ability to do that. So Bitmouse DAO told Motherboard that it's a collective of artists. At this stage, we prefer to be like a pack with no country, no gender, no member. No gender. That's funny. It said in an email, in this project, we are just members of Bitmouse DAO. Through science, those scientists involved here, Bitmouse DAO stressed this is an artistic venture. I wonder if Bill Gates is the one who anonymously posted the blog. Bitmouse DAO is an art project that connects the crypto world with the art world. Remember, I've been saying for years, I have videos talking about art. Getting away with whatever they want in the name art. Interesting that they call this art. I don't see a painting here. I see you putting things inside of a mouse is what your plan is, manipulating its DNA. Is that art too? So is this instead of a giant science experiment that's going on now, is it a giant art experiment? All right. So whenever something's in the name of science or art, they can get away with whatever they want because that's what they've brainwashed the world into thinking. You could act weird. You could do all this satanic crap and then they call it art, and they could do all this other stuff and call it science. You're not allowed to question it. Kind of like something going on, with the bagels in Bagelville. You can't question what they teach. So let me reread that. The Bitmouse DAO is an art project that connects the crypto world with the art world as well as the biological realm through the bold idea of putting Bitcoin inside of the mouse. We explore consensus on the value of crypto and our vision for the future of technology. We don't make a biochemical monster. It told Motherboard it planned to launch a Discord and build a community once it drew more attention. Well, lucky for them, they just came up with this idea, wink, wink, and it just gets blasted to millions and millions of people on Stephen Colbert's late night show. So lucky them, right? Look how that worked out. I mean, give me an utter break. So we don't need as much money as auctioning constitutions or space travel or fundraising. Uses include the purchase of a Bitcoin gene editing experiments, mouse breeding, and rental of specimen placement sites, and developing NFTs. I wonder if they're doing like this type of a route with these types of experiments and making them public so that they don't, they used to do stuff like this. They're like, well, Bill Gates funded this. And then, now everyone's suspicious of these people. So they're like, oh, some anonymous person came up with this, but they don't have any money. So it's like me and you, it's just regular people. And then, watch them suddenly, because it was on Colbert, a couple of people put millions of dollars into it. And now they're doing the experimenting, right? A safer way, because people like Gates were shocked at how much heat they got. Makes sense. It makes sense to me. But really, we know who's behind it. It isn't some anonymous person. Why does he need to be anonymous? Right? He wrote anonymous, like expecting millions of people would know who he was or what it is. Right? Of course it's anonymous because it's probably somebody in the internship at the CIA was told to put it up. So how would one accomplish this task of genetically engineering a mouse so that it carries Bitcoin? Scientists have already developed methods of encoding information in strands of DNA. You think? mRNA? So in theory, it's not a complete non-starter. The post mentions two possibilities for how it might accomplish this goal. First, Bitmouse DAO plans to use a cold wallet to generate a private key offline. Purchased Bitcoins will then be pumped into the wallet. The tricky part then is editing the mouse's genetic code to carry the private key that controls the Bitcoins. And I know for some of you this sounds like crazy stuff because a lot of you aren't into Bitcoin or any of that. I'm not either. Let me just finish reading it and I'll try to explain. The plan is to work with a company to translate the key into a corresponding ATGC sequence of DNA and encode it into the mouse during fertilization. We rely on a mouse surrogate for gestation until its birth. If it doesn't work, Bitmouse DAO will just engineer a harmless virus carrying the key and inject it into a mouse. Once the mouse has a private key encoded in its DNA via genetic engineering, this is hilarious, envisions its children will too, so the DNA code, right? And this is something you could put one and one together. Once the DNA code is altered and they recreate, have babies and all that, their DNA code is altered too. So it's almost like a new species. You see where I'm going? Ideally, the offspring of the Bitmouse would also carry the private key. So they're explaining to you pretty much what's going on. Let's be realistic here, okay? Just the only thing that hasn't been factored in yet is the digital currency also being part of the genetic strand. But that's something we're all aware of, is that the digital currency is going to be in you, right? So we can see where this is going, and that's why they're bringing attention to things like this when people out there would not even blink when they saw an article like this. They go, I don't get it. What are they talking about? Just crazy, weird stuff. I'll move on. No, instead, they want to bring attention to it. So they said, ideally, the offspring of the Bitmouse also carry the key, and we would make specimens of them to sell at auction after they die of natural causes. At that point, a single Bitcoin would split into multiple specimens, but as soon as someone breaks the specimen to extract the genetic information and thus remove the Bitmouse, the other specimens would lose their value. On the flip side,
And except those days be shortened, there should be no flesh saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Matthew 24.
the specimen and destroying their artwork may not even happen when Bitcoins are worthless. We're certainly looking forward to all the fun. So, I mean, what can even be said at this point? I mean, they go on to talk about NFTs, but what if instead the BitMouse is able to birth mice carrying a copy of the key in its very genetic structure? More NFTs, of course, and then a breeding program. The firstborn mouse enters an initial BitMouse DAO donor's address for free. They said mouse breeding will cease from the third month after the first month. All right, this is all stuff. Physical mouse artwork will be distributed after the last mouse dies of natural causes. This is all stuff I don't need to get into any further. It's complicated. I don't want you to get confused by it. But they go on to pretty much indoctrinate people on NFTs, cryptocurrencies, so that they have better understanding of why this would be something that's done within the mouse. So going from the mouse to humans is pretty much what people are thinking, because people are going, well, why would a mouse need Bitcoin? Why would a mouse need currency? Well, they're doing it because they're experimenting in the mouse to experiment eventually on humans, right? So they're prepping you. That's how it works, right? That's how it works. So unbelievable that they bring attention to something like this and then have the audacity to crack really bad jokes about it. But this is what you have to ask yourself. Whenever you see something on TV like that, first of all, you say, how does Vice find it? And Vice is obviously a massive liberal, controlled op type of resource. It's not a resource, it's a third source. And then you have, some writer came up to him and was like, this would be a great idea. And they put it, there's X amount of things, X amount of minutes in the show that they can use to promote or push or talk about stuff. They don't just, let's have a random joke about a random thing. There's usually an agenda behind every single thing. Sure, there's some stuff mixed in, like he talked about McDonald's and stuff. I mean, but for the most part, bringing attention to this, and you could obviously look at it and say, well, that may not be funny to you, Call, but it might be funny to someone else. They're bringing attention to this stuff because they deflect off of it. Just why they brought attention to Pizzagate, just why they bring attention to all this stuff with the potion. That's what they do. So now they're bringing attention to this, and people, instead of going, oh, crazy Bitcoiners and cryptocurrency and mice and testing, should go, why would they want to experiment on a mouse to see if a mouse could have a currency and it's encrypted inside its DNA? Well, because that's eventually what they want to do to humans. And a lot of humans are openly allowing themselves to be science experiments, as you can see. So they won't have a problem with it. Reminder again, 2 channels linked below. Please subscribe to those and watch the videos if you haven't. Please check out the website, new video up over there, and make sure you sub to those new channels as well.
I think there's going to be a lot of breakthroughs on the medical front, particularly around synthetic mRNA. You can basically do anything with synthetic RNA, DNA. It's like a computer program. So, I think with effort that's not too crazy, you could probably stop aging, reverse it if you want. You can basically do it. You can turn someone into a freaking butterfly if you want with the right DNA sequence. So, caterpillars do it. I think that
RNA doesn't change your deoxyribonucleic acid. That's what people tell you. I don't know why people think your RNA changes your deoxyribonucleic acid.
There'll be a lot of breakthroughs on the medical front, particularly around synthetic mRNA. You can basically do anything with synthetic RNA, DNA. It's like a computer program. So, I think with effort that's not too crazy, you could probably stop aging, reverse it if you want. You can basically do it. You can turn someone into a freaking butterfly if you want with the right DNA sequence. So, caterpillars do it.
You would nourish your soul so that you're able to bloom and grow.
The name for this grocery store came from family. The idea inspired by Jamie and Jalea Hemming's son, Jabari.
So when he was 2 years old, he was diagnosed with autism, and we learned the importance of diet at that point. And so we've always made sure that we fed him a pretty clean diet.
That seed in October of 2020 grew into Nourish and Bloom, the first black-owned autonomous grocery store in Georgia and across the Southeast.
They don't have to check out. You don't have to touch anything. There's no waiting in line. Once you leave, you'll receive a receipt straight to your phone.
A blend of technology and convenience. Customers scan a QR code to gain access to this 24/7 store, which carries several local products. Cameras and weighted shelves track what items they pick up, and they can pay through an app. The store also features a bistro and all-terrain temperature-controlled delivery robots that can travel up to 3 miles. Rosemary Drake with the Small Business Administration says minority-owned businesses like these are vital to thriving communities.
Job creation is always critical, generational wealth, and taking skill sets to allow us to
Buzzwords: job creation, generating
expand the type of offerings we have.
The Hemmings have partnered with Microsoft to teach practical STEM-based ideas to kids and teens, and the store is located next to Trilla Studios, one of the largest film production companies in the country, a site that continues to see history and grow every day.
Being the first black owners in the world, it's amazing. My son, he's my heart. He's really my heart. And everything that Jalea and I do, it's for him.
Nourish and Bloom officially opens Friday, January 21st, but the couple tells me they plan to open as many as 400 stores nationwide.
So merchant. So two things. Either this isn't black owned, this is the face, or either way, Esau just can snatch all this later. Or everybody set him up to take a bag to create the Motb system. It's already been around. Like they have a whole bunch of Amazons. Though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished. The seed of the righteous shall be delivered. If you think right now, you think that you're going to have wealth in the end of a new world order, you're mistaken. Revelation 13:16. He causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a ark in the right hand or in their forehead, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for the number of the man, and his number is 636. Uh, Matthew 24:24. For there shall arise false anointeds, false Mashiachs, and false prophets that doeth great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the elect. Peter, 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, um, as a roaring lion, walking around, seeking whom they may devour. Don't be drunk in these philosophies. They're drunk with that generational wealth. They're drunk with the job building. Yeah. People preparing to be nuked up. They're modifying that this is coming with the system. This is coming with the ark, the ark of the east. Hopefully that's not too close. The east, they have the beast system that they're really setting out, and then modify. See, they've already been preparing you to modify your DNA. Now they're modifying your DNA to put the war. You got a GMO DNA war. Man. Man. You better be praying. You better know what time it is. You better be praying to your AHBAD Yahawashi, hoping that he delivers you this time. This man, couldn't imagine. I hope this is edifying.